So on today's episode, it is your Ask Anything Q&A with Angie. So I put up a post on Instagram and Facebook asking you ladies what questions you have for me. Health, fitness, mindset, anything you want to know about myself or the Angie method. So I'm going to answer those for you today. So let's start with this one. One of you asked me what I'm into for the holidays, right? How do I decorate? What are like my favorite things? So here's my favorite things. I love baking. It reminds me of my mom. And so I will probably make 10 to 12 different types of fudge or nuts, like chocolate covered nuts, cookies, bars. It is time consuming, but it reminds me of my mom, and it is something she loved to do and showed love to us around the holidays. And Lars and Leif are absolutely loving being in the kitchen right now. And I gotta tell you, it's really a great example of how patient you can be. And I have found myself to be very patient because I'm reminding myself that I'm doing this to show them love and to show them memories of their mama, and it's been absolutely awesome. My favorite recipe of hers that I make, baked good cookie, is this chocolate cake cookie with a homemade chocolate frosting. It's phenomenal. So it's like this just puffy ball of chocolate dough. So good. Second thing I love, yes, I love holiday themed earrings, sweatshirts, apparel, anything. I love it. You think of it, I wear it. And so just got these at this little, I don't know if you can see how sparkly they are. Can you see that? So cute. Just got these from this little local shop in our town of Dripping Springs. I also got ones, I have to show you these. They say ho 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 going down, and they have this big snowball-like stud that goes in the earring. So cute in the ear. And I will wear those on Christmas Eve with my fancy holiday outfit. And the last thing, how do I like to decorate? I am your make it a very magical place for the kids. I love everything I see on Instagram, even different like women's house that I visit, and it's like that interior design look or like that Macy's Day tree, and it's just beautiful and themed and it's all put together. I am not there yet because I have 2 3-year-olds who love to take ornaments off the tree or hold them or examine them or whatever it is. And so I make it very kid friendly around here. So if you look at my tree, it is all the ornaments that I have gotten the boys or Paul or ones that I grew up with. And I love ornaments for that reason of evoking a memory. And so when I pull out one that's from like 1991 that my mom got me on St. Nick Day, that Santa got me on St. Nick Day, it just reminds me of that year and that moment and what that ornament probably meant to her and what it means to me. And I try to choose an ornament every year that I gift Paul and the boys that is something meaningful or purposeful from that year. So like one year, let me grab it. Oh my gosh, this one is so cute. Let me see if I can get it off. Should have came more prepared for this, but this is the one Leif's really into. So he goes up to the tree and he pretends he's talking on it like Mayor Humdinger from Paw Patrol. It's kind of funny. But I got this one for Paul when he started podcasting, so he could remember like, hey, that was the year you just did something for you that you weren't sure if it would make an impact, but you ended up loving it. So that was for Paul. And then this one I did for the boys, and I don't know if you can see it, but it has their hospital bracelets in it. So this was their first Christmas ornament. I made it, and it says Leif's first Christmas, and then it has his little ankle bracelet because we couldn't tell them apart, so we had to wear ankle bracelets for as long as we could then tell them apart, and their hospital bracelet. So I do more of my decorations kind of for childhood memories and to create memories for the boys. Okay, next question I got was, do you have a calorie-friendly or a macro-friendly dessert that you like to make for the holidays? Well, as soon as it switches from Thanksgiving to December 1st, I go straight on peppermint mocha. And I have shared this on my Instagram page. I've shared it on Facebook. I'll drop the recipe in the comments below or the description below, but this is a Greek yogurt cheesecake made with sugar-free chocolate pudding, mint Oreos, and like peppermint oil, or you could use peppermint extract. And I make it as 8 servings, but it's like, hold on, let me get the macros. I built this in. This is like my go-to dessert during the week. And then like I said, I love doing baked goods that remind me of my mom, but you know, the calories can creep up on those, and one cookie could be like 150 calories, and once you pop, you can't stop. That's what cookies are to me. They're like my Pringle can. So this cheesecake for 8 servings, it's only 148 calories per serving, 4 grams of fat, 15.6 grams carbs, and 9 grams protein. So realistically, if you wanted a quarter of that cheesecake, you could have that for 300 calories and have 18 grams of protein. Go look up a regular slice of cheesecake. Like you could take Cheesecake Factory, like their mint Oreo. It's like 800 calories. And this is 150. You get a lot more protein, a lot less fat, a lot less carbs. And you know, it tastes pretty good for a dessert that reminds you of the holidays and has a taste of the season. So make this one. It is so good. I used mint Oreo thins and chocolate pudding, chocolate cake mix, and Greek yogurt. Pretty delicious. That's my macro-friendly dessert. Okay, so this question is actually from a client. Well, it was more a statement she made, and I was like, hey, that would actually be a really good question for this YouTube episode I want to do. And she was like, I don't know what happened, but I got really sick and tired of my normal go-to foods that I make for meal prep. And she's like, and it kind of just threw me off, right? I kind of like spiraled with my food. And I said, okay, well, what if you take your ingredients and you just think about preparing them in a different way? So maybe rather than a shredded chicken in the slow cooker, you just bake your chicken, or you grill your chicken, or you make them in little chicken nuggets with some egg and some panko breadcrumbs. Sometimes just changing the preparation of the actual item that you're getting sick of will make it taste totally new and be interesting again. Variety. Or I said, think about the spices and the seasons of the flavor, or the flavors that you enjoy of the season. And that's how you could take your ingredients and put a flair on them. So maybe you were someone that was making shredded chicken and you were just putting barbecue sauce on it for like sliders, or you were doing buffalo sauce for like buffalo bowls. Maybe you could take that protein and put a spin on it that would be more of a seasonal flavor. So I'm gonna use the example of ground turkey breast. And I feel like a lot of us probably make tacos with it. Maybe you throw marinara sauce on it. So what if you take your leftover spices from Thanksgiving, like fresh sage, and you make your own turkey breast, like Thanksgiving burgers, or you make turkey breast sausage. And so I've showed my ground crumbles that I do, but what I'm gonna do today is I have fresh sage, fresh thyme, and I still have fresh parsley left. I am going to make 4 patties, so 4-ounce servings, because this is 16 ounces. And I am going to make turkey sausage patties with those fresh herbs, some red pepper flakes, some salt, and some Walden Farm syrup to kind of sweeten it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna serve this, and yes, it sounds strange, on a bed of cream of rice. And so a lot of times when it's colder out, we want something cozy. Cream of rice is like oatmeal, but it has just this really silky texture. So I'm gonna make my cream of rice, put my turkey sausage patty on top, and then I'm gonna fry an egg so then the yolk drips all over it with some fresh arugula, and that'll totally change up the flavor. So I'm just thinking about how could I add in different vegetables I'm not eating as much and that are more seasonal right now? How could I change up the vessel, which is the carbs? I'm gonna do the cream of rice. What could I do to my protein to make it different? So rather than just browning it up like crumbles, I'm gonna make patties this time around. So it's as simple as that. Just take ingredients, prep them, assemble them in a way that you are, wanting to enjoy it, but think about the seasons and what the flavors are of the seasons to kind of put a little spin on it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I love this fitness question. So one of you asked, you're like, hey, if you live somewhere where it's a little bit colder out and you can't get outside as much to do cardio or walking, like what do you recommend you do in terms of fitness when you're indoors more? I think that spring, summer, fall are great for getting outside and getting on those longer walks, aerobic runs, even if you want to train for whatever it is, a 5K, a triathlon. It's the season to do it. And so people are like, well, I'm not going to be as active in the winter. What do I do about it? I feel like the winter is a great time to go all in on strength training because generally in November, December, and January, we're eating more calories. And so it's the opportunity where you can use those calories for recovery. You can use those calories to put on more muscle. So when I am looking at seasonal approach to fitness in the winter, fall months, I go all in on my strength training and I go all in on my muscle building. I just know, hey, I'm gonna be eating calories that are about my maintenance, maybe a little bit above sometimes, but the intention would be to lift with intensity in my lifts and to structure my actual workouts around muscle build. And that's like the great opportunity opportunity to do it, because then if you are going to look to maybe get a little bit more lean by spring and summer, maybe spring break, maybe summertime, you'll have already worked to put on the muscle and you'll be eating an abundance of calories. You can drop your calories to shed a little bit of body fat, and then you're gonna see all the hard work that you did over those winter months in terms of the strength training and the muscle building right in front of you, ready to go for swimsuit season. So yeah, I recommend maybe doing some steady state cardio inside if you have that option, like slow bike ride, elliptical, walking on a treadmill, but I would go all in on 3 to 5 days of strength training if you can handle that, with the intention to build your program around muscle gain. So I'm gonna wrap up with 2 more questions. I got a few more, but I feel like this video might get too long. So one of you, Breezy, had sent me a message on Instagram or Facebook, I'm not sure which one. And she's like, well, what do you do about picky eaters? And so I messaged her so we could get, can you see that? That's pretty bright right now. It's pretty bright with the sun. I was like, I wanted to get a little bit more context, because a lot of times when someone says they're a picky eater, that might be something they were told as a kid, right? Like maybe you only ate things that were like brown, right? Like, or you only ate mac and cheese and hot dogs or whatever, and so your parents started to call you a picky eater. So you took on that identity. But the way that we see food is that you can have anything you want, right, in any amount to hit whatever goal it is or however you want to feel. So it doesn't really matter the foods that you choose. It doesn't mean that you're picky. It just means you know what you like and you eat those probably over and over again because it fits easy into your everyday routine. It gives you energy, it gives you fullness. And so I said, oh, is this a kid? Is this you? And she's like, well, actually it's me. She goes, I struggle with the textures of food, things like tomatoes and strawberries. So she was then correlating like picky with not really wanting to eat single ingredient or quote unquote healthy foods. And I was like, okay, so what are your go-to foods and what's your ultimate goal with food? Because maybe she has this block and thinks she should be eating things like tomatoes or strawberries or whatever it is, but I'm like, but if you don't really care for them and you don't like the texture, you're not really gonna enjoy what you eat anyway. And there's plenty of other foods out there that are sustenance foods or enjoyment foods that you could fill your day with. So I said, is your ultimate goal sustenance, energy, satiety, enjoyment? And she's like, well, I actually really like simple foods: chicken, rice, potatoes, broccoli, carrots, yogurt, apples, eggs, protein pancakes, protein bars, shakes. That seems like a pretty good base foundation of food, right? You could make a lot of different varieties out of those. You got good options for protein, for carbs, for fats. She's like, I mostly look at food as fuel, so more for energy. She's also a mom of 5, so she has to have food for energy. And I was like, okay, so then do you care if you have much more variety in your actually, like your daily diet? I said, does it really mean you're a picky eater if you know what you like and you know how those foods make you feel? And she said, yeah, I know what I like. She said, I need to be better at prepping it though, so it's more convenient for me. So now she led to another part of it, right? First it started as picky eater and maybe feeling a little bit of guilt over not eating certain foods that other people eat, but she doesn't like them. She knows what she likes. So now it brought her to her next obstacle. Picky eater was number 1, was making sure it's readily available so she can actually eat those things. And I said, okay, so you identify with being a picky eater, right? What if you choose to identify with someone who just knows what she likes to eat and how she wants to feel with her food and preps and eats those things to keep you sustained? And she's like, absolutely, it would be a game changer. She said, I've been told my whole life I was picky, and at some point I just accepted that as truth. So this is one of those like examples of identity and how we can take on different identities from something that influenced us in an environment or possibly a person or in our past, and we start to believe it's true. So you can also choose that something else is true. So in Breezy's example, I love that she asked that one. Like, are you really a picky eater, or are there just certain foods that you don't want to eat? And that doesn't make you picky. It doesn't mean you can't get the results you want. You can't feel how you want to feel. So loved that question, Breezy. Hopefully that helped. And we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to pull this one up because this was in my free Facebook group, and Paula had asked this. She said, how does it work for women going through menopause in terms of like our Angie Method program, or just getting more fit, so maybe through nutrition and fitness? She said the story is you'll never drop weight during this time no matter what. Can your program help with that? And so I said, Paula, this is a great question. I actually think I've done a YouTube on this. If not, I feel like it's a whole topic in itself. So I tagged her in our Facebook community group with other women in the group who are perimenopause or menopause, who are literally living in better bodies than they did before kids or in college, or some of them are hitting like new lows and leaner than they were in like grade school and high school. So I had said to Paula, I was like, that is a story we just tell ourselves. Again, it's something we're identifying with. We hear out in the media, or we see it, or we hear other people that are in our circle say, hey, this is just the way it is. When you hit menopause, you just have to accept that you're gonna get more, belly fat, or you have to accept that you won't be able to get into a leaner body. It's okay, just buy new clothes. It's just the way it is. There's a different truth. There's a different belief. And there's a lot more knowing in this belief if you see other people who are also in menopause that are getting like phenomenal results. So I tagged her in a couple different ones, but it's like anything else, right? Yes, your hormones change in menopause, right? The estrogen that you made and the progesterone that you made before you were menopause, it's a different type of estrogen, and progesterone goes down. And so your hormones are going to impact the way you store body fat. And what that means is before menopause, you're mostly going to store it in your hips and thighs because we are preparing ourselves for reproduction, right? That's where we need more of it. As that estrogen change in menopause, you're actually going to store more of it around your belly because your cortisol rises, that stress hormone, because of that change in that hormonal shift. So the body fat tends to go more towards the stomach. That's why you see that in menopause. However, it's still the same strategy. It's still the same protocol. You have to know how much you're eating in correlation to your energy exertion, and then you can eat less than that to burn body fat. Now, yes, you might tolerate different types of foods. You might do better on a higher protein diet and a lower carb diet, but that's all done through observation, and that's what we do in the program. We don't just give you random numbers to follow. We actually look at how your body is responding to the food choices that you're having, to the food amounts that you're having, to the ratio of a protein, a carb to a fat. We look at how your body does with different types of exercises, making sure that we're not adding more stress to it. That's the biggest thing. We can control physical stress. We can't really control mental or emotional stress. So we look at all the variables we can control to get you in the body that you want. And yes, it is doable in perimenopause and menopause. And you can go check out all those different examples in our free Facebook group. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. But great question, Paula. I hope that, I know I tagged you with Leslie and Deanne and a bunch of other women, and I'm sure they can share their story because I'm not menopause yet, but I've coached a lot of women through it. Okay, thanks for that question. Okay, so that's a wrap on your questions and my answers, and I would love to do these more often. Like, I want to know from all of you out there, like, what questions do you have around nutrition, fitness, mindset, lifestyle, anything, right? The whole Angie method, like protocol, everything that I'm trying to do with that community is that we are women who get to choose what we eat and how we move and how we think and how we live from a place of desire. And so any questions that you have that are like, how can I make this work into my life? Drop them in the comments. I'll answer them in a future episode. Okay, that's it. Chat soon.